Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette Steelers post-practice training camp updates. I'm Brian Batko, joined by Ray Fittipaldo for day one of 2025 training camp at Saint Vincent College in Latrobe. All of these will be brought to you by Savinas, Kane, and Gallucci, Pittsburgh's mesothelioma and asbestos lawyers with over 85 years of experience in the industry. That's sdklaw.com for a free consultation. They will make the commitment to you and your family, and they're making the commitment to bring you these videos. And Ray, we got to start off with a most interesting beginning to Aaron Rodgers' time as a Steelers practice player, at least. He didn't throw any live passes in minicamp back in June. His first drop back today here at Chuck Noll Field, intercepted by Patrick Queen. What's he doing, Ray?
I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 fans here maybe. You could hear an audible gasp like, oh my gosh, he threw a pick. Yes, Patrick Queen picked him on his very first rep in a Steelers uniform, targeted DK Metcalf, which I think
that's a good idea.
He's going to do a lot here. And, Aaron talked about it afterward. He says, I'm going to throw some picks. I'm also going to throw some touchdowns.
Yeah, it's curious, though. 2 years in a row, Russell Wilson gets his camp off to an inauspicious start with the calf. Aaron Rodgers gets his off with no injury issues, but yes, he does get picked off. I talked to Patrick Queen about it after. And here's the thing about any training camp practice. We'll just use this as a precursor for everything we're going to discuss the rest of these next 2.5, 3 weeks. Anything bad that happens to the Steelers, something good happened for another Steelers player. Patrick Queen's not looking at that as Aaron Rodgers' first throw in a Steelers practice penny. For him, he was saying, it's about time I capitalize on some of those opportunities because I could have had more takeaways last year in 2024, my first season with the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, that was a nice play, too. He stepped in front of it. I think they were obviously in zone coverage there. But, listen, the Steelers are paying Patrick Queen, $13, $14 million a year to be a playmaker in the middle of that defense. We didn't see nearly as many of those in the regular season that we needed to see last year. Hopefully that was an omen for him as well.
Speaking of the defense, they want to confuse and disguise coverages a lot against opposing quarterbacks this year, but they also want to line them up and plaster you corner to receiver, man to man. The opening secondary for the defense today, Ray, Jalen Ramsey was in the slot. That was one of the big questions we had coming into this whole endeavor in July here. Juan Thornhill was a safety, and asked Mike Tomlin about both of those after practice, and he said as far as Ramsey lining up in the slot, I asked him if we should read into it because what does he always tell us, especially the first couple of days of camp? Don't read into anything you see. It's day one. He said, you guys are going to read into it anyway, so go ahead. You're going to be seeing a lot of it. And I asked him if Juan Thornhill is a more significant piece of the puzzle than he was 6 weeks ago when Minkah Fitzpatrick was on the roster, and he basically hit me with the obviously yes.
Yeah. So with Jalen Ramsey, I think the exact quote was, get your cameras ready. He's going to be in a lot of places. So we've been being told that. He's versatile. He's going to line up in a lot of places. I think the way to look at it, Brian, is Slay, Ramsey, and Joey Porter Jr., those guys are going to be on the field all the time, and they're going to be covering various types of tight ends and receivers. And there might be some weeks where Jalen Ramsey is a great matchup on a tight end. There might be other weeks where they're going to want Jalen Ramsey outside on a receiver, and they're going to bump somebody else and slide like Slay. So we got our first peek today, but I think we're going to see a variety of roles for Ramsey, and I think we're going to see a variety of defenses from Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin.
And just a reminder, these are really acclimation type of practices. They're not much different than what they were doing last month on the south side at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. The pads will come on Tuesday. The intensity will ratchet up here at camp, but these first 4 days, you're feeling it out. You're trying to get the chemistry down from quarterbacks to pass catchers. You're seeing who's in shape and who's banged up. Jonnu Smith and Cordero Patterson. Right. Mike Tomlin said you can call them day to day. He didn't mention them yesterday after the conditioning test and his first press conference. Those are the only two absences really that I noticed. What else did you observe today, Ray, that kind of jumped out to you from day one?
Yeah, I don't know if it's worth mentioning or not, but Jonnu Smith actually did walk through. And then
individual drills, yeah.
Well, he didn't do a lot of individual.
Okay.
He might have done a few reps there, but he was not with the tight ends when they broke stretching. And then late in practice, he was in street clothes, so he went up and got dressed. So we don't know if he tweaks something or not, but that's something to keep an eye on. Obviously, Isaac Seumalo, yesterday an early injury to watch as well. The one thing I picked up on, we just got done talking about chemistry with receivers and quarterbacks. Mike Tomlin set up Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf as suite mates. So they're going to spend a lot of time on the field working and a lot of time off the field in their room. So Mike has been known to do that over the years, kind of strategically place some players with others. And, I guess that was an obvious one, but I think that's going to be a good one too.
Although the first anecdote we got about that, Ray, from DK Metcalf was he was playing video games last night and Aaron Rodgers walked in and I think DK was kind of like, oh, he's going to want to play. And he said, oh, what are you doing? Playing games? And he said, yeah. And he said, all right, and walked out. So it's kind of like, okay, bye, Dad. DK was playing NCAA football on whatever system he has. But, yeah, I mean, those two have, they've been around the block, and Mike Tomlin basically just nodded his head and said, yeah, doesn't it make sense to put those guys together? So, I also saw TJ Watt, kind of jumping in and out of different alignments up front today, into different gaps. Mm-hmm. We know we're going to be keeping an eye on that throughout camp. And, on the defensive line, first two guys out there, Cam Hayward and Keanu Benton, but they were in their nickel defense, which is effectively their base defense. Right. Derrick Harmon and even Y.A. Black got to mix it up in there a little bit later.
And if it wasn't the first snap of team, it was the second snap, TJ Watt dropped into coverage. So, we spent the entire offseason talking about TJ, and he's got to move around a bit. And listen, we've seen that before. There was that interception against the Rams a couple of years ago where he dropped and, made a big play. So are we going to see more of TJ dropping, or are we going to see more exotic blitzes because they can man up on people this year and they don't, have to scheme it up with smoke and mirrors? That's something to monitor here. But it was an interesting first day, and I did notice that TJ dropping on the first snap. I think we're going to see a lot of experimentation.
Yeah, second snap, he actually pressured Aaron Rodgers. It might have been a sack in a real game, and then Cam Hayward batted down the pass. Rodgers' first completion went to Scotty Miller, and then Rodgers spent some time after practice under the family tent chatting with Scotty Miller and his wife and their young son. So everybody's enjoying this bonding time so far in camp. All the players that we talked to, especially the new ones Ray mentioned, not a lot of teams still go away like this the way the Steelers do. And Rodgers did kind of smirk and say it's interesting they practice at the hottest time of the day. Mike Tomlin said the heat out here is about, I think it hit 90 today here in Latrobe. It aids team development, as he always puts it.
Wait till they get the pads on. That's what I say.
Yeah, then it'll be really hot. For Ray Fittipaldo, for Chris Carter, Jerry Dulac's around here somewhere. Make sure to check out what he wrote today on Aaron Rodgers' first day in Latrobe. I'm Brian Batko. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll be here with post-practice updates every day of training camp right here on the Post-Gazette YouTube channel.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.